commission's tied into that as well.
So will those trees that are there grow back?
No, they're still, because they'll be at the very base of it, and even at their highest, they will not make it to the top of the fence. If you look back there, there's now ficuses that are growing over the fence line again, but they were planted in between the big ficuses. They did a big ficus tree, small ficus bush. Now that those big trees are gone, they're getting more sunlight. They've now basically kind of doing the same thing, except they're shrub type, so they don't have a big massive.
Yeah, I guess whatever the solution is, I want to make sure that you solve it for the long term.
Right.
And to Eileen's point earlier, if we're going to do it inside, and this isn't going to be partially funded by Lee County or the village, maybe we do more than just along the road.
Just along the line, yeah. And like I said, that's an easy count. I mean, the pace, because they're on 3-foot centers. So to start, the rate is $60 per tree. If you went into 70, I think there was $7.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to have Norman do the ficus trees along the road, and replace them with calusias. And that's the $45,000, correct, John?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And to this outside portion, I think we probably should wait to see how extensive the county, what they're going to do. Are they going to cut us a check? Are they going to help us with material? Who knows what their assistance is going to be, how they're going to lend it.
Well, that's why I'd like to start with this along here, so we know what it looks like,
Right.
so we'll know what
Get a
that will
visual.
look like.
Yeah.
And then,
With that being said, the ones that would be going out there will be bigger than the ones going
Right.
here. We can afford to wait for these to grow. And they're pretty quick, you know. The reason I said that about that is because of the homeowners, the whole fencing
Oh,
issue. I'm sure they're gonna want something installed that's almost, matches.
oh, absolutely.
Tighter together, a little bit tighter spacing, fill it in, touching. They don't want to see gaps and stuff like that. That's why I said that.
Okay. And then, John, if you could just get a price to do along the ball field,
Along the ball field.
because I'd like to try to do that too. So, let's have a motion
Do they give you a time frame from when, John, from when they rip it out to when they're gonna put the calusia in?
No, this is
Because
just.
I don't want to see it empty for months.
No, it will not, absolutely not, no.
now, we'll get a time frame from them.
Yeah,
And-
absolutely.
And once John gets a time frame, we'll give it to Chuck, and he'll get it out to you guys, so we know.
Because I would rather them do it 2 months from now, when they can do it all at one time,
Oh, yeah.
instead
So we
of,
also got to think about the school,
Right.
traffic back there.
absolutely, it's
Yeah.
all, trust me,
That's all part of it.
definitely, especially the traffic.
Okay. So I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, now to golf course. No vandalism over spring break, yay. Surprising, I was a little nervous about that, there's none.
I'm so sure about that.
Maybe they went away. What, did you get some?
Something that
Oh, sorry, at least on the golf course. Excuse me. So I'm going to ask the board for some money right now
Okay.
for the golf course. I'd like to do some resodding this summer, or pretty soon here in spring, started sooner than later, because it's hard to get sod right now. Everybody's buying it up. You got to throw your hat in the ring quick. And I had Todd go out, and we went out and looked at some areas throughout the whole entire golf course, and we came up with roughly about 80,000 square feet of sod. Was about $50,000 worth of sod replacement. We have 6 in the budget, so that brings it down to about 44. We really looked at, a lot of them are bunker edges, but we have some bigger areas. We try to even look at areas maybe we don't have to do, we could take out, and that's as tight as we can squeeze it. I know that we're talking about regrassing in 2 to 3 years, but to maintain that. Falling behind one's a good example, big area behind one, from the roadside, residents leaving, come in, I want a better presentation than that. Some areas on 18 roadside, stuff like that.
John, we can't wait another 3 years to do everything.
Right.
Because it's just going to diminish more. So I would I would agree to doing the sod. I'd kind of wait until it's more the rainy season, so we get some more water.
I will ask, I would love to do, because it's easier on us, it helps us out.
Yeah.
We won't be doing the install, it's too much. They'll just shut us down for 3 weeks, we couldn't do that. But
What are you thinking time-wise?
I guess what I'd have to know is just an approval to have the okay. When, I might be able to work, but as long as I can let them know that, hey, yes, we can lock us in or sign us up. Because, as, to another point, we talked about regrassing, I mentioned that to him. He said, well, you might want to order that sod next year for 2026. He's like,
Okay.
the stuff you're going to need, because that's how far out renovations are. Speaking to that point, Estero Country Club, their full renovation, that they just got completed with, ran them about $12 million. So we were talking numbers.
Right.
That's just a rough, that was new irrigation, redesign. So just a number for a rough ballpark bond. So that's all I'm looking for, just maybe,
Loan, not bond.
Loan, sorry, loan. Loan, I'm so sorry.
Funded by the golf course.
Funded by the
Funded by the golf course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to see the sodding redone sooner than later, so I'd like to make a motion to, and you said $50,000?
It's gonna be about 45,000.
Not to exceed $50,000 to do the sod on the course we're required.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Awesome.
So you have some money, John.
And I turn it over to Mr. Nixon.
Okay.
Thank you.
One thing about that sod to think about is we did get $26,000 in lost revenue return from the insurance policy, so that's half of it right there.
Oh, good. Okay, great.
Check went in a couple weeks back, in addition to the check we received earlier.
So we have 26, plus there was still 6 in there, that's 32, so that's well on its way. Thank you. Thanks, Jeff.
If we look at the month of March, it's been really good. I mean, some of these deals where it doesn't rain and everything happens pretty good. We're looking at a projected $61,000 over budget. It's the first time we'll ever do over $600,000 in a month. A big hitter is the range. Since the implementation of the machine, we've seen a spike upward. All departments hitting pretty good. The only one would be our food and beverage is a little down, but we're coming around there. A couple issues personnel-wise, but we're coming around to that. When I was walking out today, they're putting the patio furniture out on the new area. They had about 12 new tables they were putting out.
Nice.
I assume that the fire pit will come out along there soon too, so that's terrific.
Fill your fire pit.
Excited, can't wait.
It's only 90 degrees.
Right. That's the best one.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about the regrass when we get to that? Because I
Yeah.
have a couple things with that. You want to do it now?
Let's do it all with that. Okay, John.
Okay, I want to mention something about the back patio from working up there. And I think it's been lightly discussed, a railing for that.
Yeah, actually, I was going to bring that up. On the steps, I'm almost thinking that we should do 2 railings, like a third of the way,
I was thinking more along the sides where the
Just
plants are.
along the sides?
Well, I mean, it'd be nice to have one in the center for people who need help walking up steps, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you even have, I think we might have to, I don't know.
Well, that's
Tony might know
why,
more about that, but.
that's why we did the walkway so wide. for the
Oh, okay,
ADA
so you-
requirements. So we had that. But yeah, I think maybe a railing on either end and one in the middle would be beneficial.
Yeah,
So-
just to keep people from walking, stepping back, maybe having a conversation.
Is that something Master Z could do?
No, I don't think so. I could call and ask, but
Ask him.
yeah, I think that, I'll find out.
And find out who could do that for us, because I do think that that would be beneficial. I don't want a lot of railings. I mean, if we do one on each end and one in the middle, I think that would be sufficient.
When you say one in the middle, you mean just up to 3 steps?
Yes,
So it'd be from the top, right there, in the middle, down,
Yeah.
and then at the top, very top of the pavers on the side.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think that's all we need is, the railings on
Handrail.
handrail.
Yeah,
Thank you.
exactly. Stainless steel, ground and handrail on both. Both sides.
Yes. Okay. Brown. Bronze color. I knew that was coming, Elizabeth. John, we'd like it bronze color.
Bronze?
Bronze color.
Think of the light posts and all the other little things that are black or bronze, trying to keep them the same.
Okay.
Color of that window, just so you know.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
bronze?
It's more of a bronze color. They call that bronze or brown.
It looks black, but
Is that black?
yeah, it's bronze.
John, it's yellow.
Other than that, we got some events coming up for the summer. I think we're going to be busy or busier than we've ever been this summer. There's some issues down the street at Corkscrew. I don't know exactly in detail what they are, but I know there's some fungus on their greens. A couple of their event planners have called me about dates. We've also got a couple of events coming over from Raptor, because Raptor's not ready to open yet either. So we're going to be busy this summer.
Good. And I'm hoping these courses, as we're accommodating them, when we're doing our renovation, there is a
Oh,
accommodation.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
Raptors open in September.
So
Yeah,
we'll have them all summer.
the pro was by yesterday to see me, and he showed me their range. It's now like an indoor cage. It's kind of interesting looking. It's a completely squared-in cage. It's huge. I mean, it's like a 100-yard indoor cage area.
All big simulator.
Yeah, almost like a huge outdoor simulator. It's quite interesting.
Cool.
So, we're gonna have that business. I mean, it's gonna be a good summer. The one thing on the ride around I'd just like to bring up in this portion would be, when we rode the golf course, me and Phil both noticed the bridge on 4. It's interesting you brought this information into us. I would like to suggest that we do that bridge on 4 this year, because that bridge is
It
bad.
looks, and not only does it look bad, but it's rough driving over it, so, yeah.
So I don't know, I didn't really have a chance to talk to you about this. Do
Can you
think
guys look at it?
there's an ability to do that this summer? Like, I know, not in the house, if you get somebody to do it, or, I realize golf contractors are years out in advance to get to do anything, but
Let me ask you this, because that's a small bridge. What about making it a land bridge? 2 culvert, have 2 pipes in there so the water, and then be a land bridge, and it'd just be eventually cart path over
I
top
love
of
that idea.
That's a really good idea.
it. You never have to worry about it,
Well, plus you're kind of shut down to, there's no other way around to get to that fairway, is it? Other than that
No.
bridge.
no.
You'd have to shut the course down for the length of time to install it.
Well, one way or another, we need to do something with it, because it's
bad.
bad, and it's
Scary.
a little bit, like, to your point, Phil, if it was to collapse, say it collapsed tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're in deep, what?
It's not in that bad a shape, but one of the problems is the new boards with the old boards are rotten, so they don't match, and you get that rough feel.
Yeah.
We noticed as soon as we put the first board in, we're like, yeah, didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
But what, and then we even got roughs on boards to try to match it up a little bit, and
I really like this. I don't, I'm not an engineer, but it's almost like big Legos in a way.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really a good idea, and it's replaceable, because he's always running into, I gotta replace this, I gotta replace these boards. This is a great
They're like
idea.
pallets, but they're as thick as you need the decking to be.
So like you said, usually
Yeah.
cars are coming, or we can't, some bridges are harder than others, the long ones, if you're in the center of it, on place coming, we gotta drive all the way off, away from the pad, come all the way back, so yeah.
John, is it just the top part that's,
Oh, no,
or is it structure?
no, the pilings are good on everything. We've had to replace a few pilings on 5, but pilings are good, it's just some of the stringers, and then the top deck. And so the original decking had nice gaps in between. And then somewhere along the line, probably that was getting a little wore out, they decided to put, and they put board on board, right? And then after that, they went with a smaller gap. Well, then the sand gets in there, and it stays wet. And the weed, so that sand staying wet keeps the wood wet. And then the wood just keeps rotting. In turn, keeping the stringers wet. You want that, you need those air gaps. You need the water, also you need the air to dry that wood out. But a composite material, I think, is absolutely also the way to go in the future, But on 13 even, if you wanted to, you could make that a landing. You could just, that's
Oh, 13 to 14.
the small bridges, not the big ones.
Yeah.
This would be the only two I can think of.
Yeah, I think that would be.
Because they're low to the ground, even when the water, all
Yeah.
that.
Do that.
I think you could almost eliminate those two bridges.
I think that's a great idea. But in the interim, we need to fix 4. What are our closure dates this summer? Do you have them, John?
Off the top of my head,
Hold on. So we're closed on Monday.
Curious on 13, that bridge you're talking about between 13 and like 14, right?
Right.
Yep.
That's preserved.
I don't think it is anymore, now that
Building,
that area behind 13 might not be a preserve. I brought this up at the last meeting, or was the meeting before?
Directly behind the green?
Directly behind the
If it's
green.
not, it needs to be cut out.
That's what, here's the other thing, remember I mentioned this, it's still a bunch of cypress trees.
Yeah.
Just because it's not preserved, now you have the issue of, well, they're cypress trees, and then you can't just go and start cutting down cypress trees.
You'd have to replace them somewhere. Or you can't cut them out at all.
I think I have to talk to the Village of Sterling, so you can get their thoughts on it.
So what,
Because there's some I would definitely like to cut down.
I would be wary of building some kind of earthen bridge through there because I'm assuming that area is a low area where that lake would potentially flood into as well, right?
Yeah, no, there would be culverts underneath the water would be able to pass through and build up.
okay, so you're saying, so he's saying that there'll be culverts underneath that for the water to go through.
And 13 doesn't have to be done, 13's a nice little bridge through there, it's a nice little,
Yeah.
quaint little thing, but I was just thinking on 4, that could be done very easily, quaint, isn't that nice?
Yeah, that's
It's a
good.
nice little,
Well, yeah.
little drive through there, through the preserve.
Oh, quiet.
Yeah, the land bridge is a great idea. If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right. We gotta involve Johnson Engineering or somebody else to come up with a plan.
Make sure it's even approvable, right? Maybe
Right.
they say, hey, no, you can't do this, or this is not permitted. But it's just another method, not idea.
Well, whatever we do, we need to do something on that bridge.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll call like Clark Construction and just say, hey, what do you guys know about this? Is this something that could be done from a policy standpoint, from an approval standpoint? And if so, throw me a bid.
okay, that would be good. And then we just have to find out if that by 13 is a preserve.
What was that?
I said we just have to find out if that's a preserve on either side, whether we can do something.
Yeah, when I got that, I was looking at the map from Chuck, and it shows all the preserves, that area wasn't highlighted.
Okay. Well, let's just double check before we
Yeah.
start going into it.
Absolutely.
Yep, you may also want to double check with Johnson Engineering,
Yeah.
whether we need a letter modification or something else with the Water Management District permit or not,
Right.
just to make sure.
So, yeah, see if it can be done, then we'll go see what Johnson Engineering thinks and take it from there. Jeff, do you have the closure dates?
Yeah, we're looking at, and these are in your calendars I gave you last month,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
but the first closure, May 30, 31, June 1st and 2nd. Second closure would be the 24th, 25th, and 6th of June 26th, 27, 28, July 24, 25, 26, and August 20, 21, 22, 23. And then closed every Monday, starting May 1st,
Okay.
Until,
until October 1st. Or, if we want to open them a little earlier, we can do that. depending on, what John tells me and where he's at with his project.
Yeah, I don't see this bridge on four, at least four. Would love to do it on the May closure, because that's more days, right?
Yeah.
That would be the best, just to give yourself more time, and I'll look into that, see if it can be done. But I think, in all honesty, it could be done on any of the aerification closures. It's not gonna be much to take that out. Most of the work's gonna be in the removal of the current bridge, and then once that's out, it's,
Now, when you redo it, you're going to put gaps between the wood,
no, we're looking at land bridge, the one on
land
four.
bridge? Okay, all right. Yeah, so if we can do that during that May closure, that would be great. Okay,
We'll sod it, it'll have like, an embankment, or, you know what I mean, and then coquina over the top, just like the,
the other ones.
Well, it'll be preferable to do it in May too, because you're in the dry season.
Yeah, it'd be easier to do it.
yeah,
then.
or we can even concrete it too, because it's not much path, to be honest
Yeah,
with you.
I probably would
Concrete,
concrete
that'd be
that.
much better, yeah.
I think, yeah,
Yeah,
do the
let's do
sod and then the concrete. That would be my opinion. Okay,
Okay.
all right.
That's all I have.
That's it?
That's it.
Jeff, is it possible, since you think we're gonna have a higher demand in the summer, to take a look at the rate structure, what we're charging non-residents?
Well, we're gonna charge them 85. I mean, you wanna go higher than that next summer?
Is that, we're gonna get that? Or is it up to be golf now discounted?
Well, we don't discount golf now. I mean, they'll have odd deals, but we won't discount. Golf pass is up
It's
to
85 all summer.
Golf pass is up to 55, and it's 85 all summer at the rack rate.
What's the next rate?
Well, you got majority of golfers in the summer comes from golf pass. That's gonna be 55. Reciprocal's 55. I mean, 2 years ago it was 35, so.
Is that comparable to what the other courses are charging?
Well, depending on, yeah, I mean, corkscrew's gonna be, would have been more than that. I don't know what they're gonna be doing. St. Carlos is 45 to 50. I mean, it's comparable. But like I said, it's up $20 from 2 years ago.
Okay. Let's look at
So are our costs.
I understand that. That's why it's up.
Well, since it's pretty much been advertised for the summer at that rate, let's look into it earlier next year to raise it for next summer.
We can run it again next summer. And the majority of play in the summer comes from golf
Golf
pass
pass.
or reciprocal.
And that's already been advertised, so there's not much we can change with that at this point.
No, but, like I
Can you
said,
bring the next meeting what the rates are gonna be? Is that-
Absolutely.
Please.
I let you know that this afternoon.
For your information, I want to pass this along to you, Jeff. I spoke with the sales lady out of Topgolf, and she and the head manager, head GM there at Topgolf, are highly interested in trading Topgolf for rounds. I don't know how that would play into us, if we can do anything with that, you know what I mean? But it's just, it's just an idea, just something, she's like, yeah, I think they want to play for themselves, to be honest with you, the way it kind of sounded. But they are definitely into, working out stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was
Something
anything.
that we can use. to
Something that they could talk to us about.
For charity events, we can give away experience for Topgolf by giving them a few rounds of golf.
Yeah.
Certain time of the year.
That's funny because 2 years ago, they didn't want to do anything.
It's hard to, I'm sure it's hard to get out and play right now, is it, to make these times?
Yes.
I said to Jeff before we started, I was like, hey man, how are we doing March? Because it seemed kind of slow. And he just like looked at me and laughed. I really thought with being out on the course, like, man, why is there a gap here and a gap there? But obviously,
We need slow golfers.
yeah, maybe I just had to hit the gaps, I guess. I don't know.
Leagues.
And that's something we have to discuss and think about for next year too, Jeff.
I know.
Okay.
It's on the agenda.
All right, cool. Okay, the next is the updated development order for the property. Tony, I'm going to turn this to you.
I've not, I guess, my understanding is, and I think the developers here, or
Yes.
agents are, maybe you want to introduce them, Madam Chairman?
Yes. My always want to call you Tony. I don't know why I want to call you Tony.
Thank you.
Can't be worse than
We've both been around a while, I guess.
Yes. This is Al Quattrone for the developer. Okay.
Is that Mr. Chiaffi?
I don't believe so. Sir, you are?
That's Ralph,
Sorry, Mr. Chiaffi.
Oh, hi.
Thank you.
the infamous Ralph.
It's Chiaffi, not Chiaffi, correct?
Chaffee.
Chiaffi.
I wasn't sure you were going to be here today.
Yeah.
Okay.
I came back for it.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Okay, and I'm Al Quattrone with Quattrone and Associates. So we're back in front of you again to try to get the authorization forms we need to be able to submit our final approvals for the Village of Cerro permits. So the plan that I just gave you here, what we did was we eliminated the gas station from the project site. So we're no longer pursuing the gas station. We're pursuing essentially a 4-lot subdivision with a reverse frontage road. On the east side will be the self-storage facility that we're pretty far along with that permitting as well. And then on the west side, again, that's going to be 3 lots. Ralph was talking to a couple people that may just build it as one development site, but in either way, there won't be a gas station there anymore. So I think that's what everybody was hoping for, so. Dennis, you want to answer that?
Well, what I would add is, I also agreed to deed restrict gas or car wash. So it's the quickest way to eliminate a use as opposed to going through a rezone. And I've already asked Neil Montgomery and alerted the village, which they're happy about as well. So whatever goes in there prospectively based upon who the ultimate buyer is, they will not be allowed to gas or car wash.
And I'm not sure you're at liberty to do this. Have you been entertaining any?
I have 2 buyers right now. One is Aldi, the grocery store chain, which would be a nice, I think, use. They would use a lot of the space because they build up to, I think the zoning allows 24,999 square feet. There'll be a lot of parking required, obviously. But that's going to be a big part of what would go on there. I have another buyer who, single buyer would buy the platted lots, and he's not sure what he would end up putting in there, but whatever is permitted under the existing zoning, ex-gas, ex-car wash, I think what he'd be looking at. We're talking about maybe medical office, something along those lines. We had a national restaurant franchise that was interested as well. But the zoning, the permitted uses are what they are. And then, of course, whatever those uses would be, they go through an STP for their site and get approvals again. And I'll say this, when I bought the land initially, I had to accept the 7-Eleven contract because it was part of the original contract that the previous owner, Brian Ishtar, agreed to. So I had no choice but to accept that. I didn't think it was a great use for what I wanted to do on the self-storage side. But eventually, and actually it was this meeting that convinced 7-Eleven they didn't want to go forward. So it made my job easy to terminate the contract.
Why, were you that forceful?
No, that was a good meeting.
We're getting the sense you guys didn't want the gas station.
Well,
Just a little sense, yeah.
they got the sense.
It's not going to be graciously accepted.
No.
Okay. And I think what's good about who you're discussing and the fact that it won't be a gas station is it won't be a 24-hour.
No.
And you won't have that out there. And I think it would be a restaurant or Aldi's, I think would be a good use of that property. So,
Madam Chair, I guess for the board's edification, I guess, the idea of having the deed restrictions, is there a concept of that running in favor of the village and the CDD, or just the village?
Well,
I would ask Neil the same question.
yeah, that, I guess I don't know the answer to that. I just assume a deed restriction going forward would prevent any developer from doing gas or car wash, even though it's still within the permitted use. I'd have to go through a rezone, but the village said just put a deed restriction on and that should solve it. Because a rezone would take time and money. So,
Yeah, I think what I might want to do at the end of the day, my recommendation to the board is, if the board's comfortable with this, is to have Neil draft the deed restriction so we can bring it back to the board at the next meeting, unfortunately, to see who it runs in favor of. If it runs in favor of the village, just a recognition the village down the road could agree to an amendment. If it runs in favor of the district as the adjoining property owner, it would require the district. I'm just tossing ideas out.
I'm fine with whatever
And
works.
I've worked with, for, and against Neil in the past.
Got it, yeah. I mean,
With her and against her in the past.
yeah, I'm fine with however the board wants to do it. I just want to get on with the project.
And one other question, I guess, is that, maybe I missed it, I'm not an architect, they don't let me play any of that. The reverse frontage road, you mentioned, is it on here? Is this,
Yeah, so this plan right here is, so originally our plan was what we call the infrastructure, the backbone road, the reverse frontage road, the utilities, water management, and the gas station. They were part of the original development application. We eliminated the gas station and car wash, but everything else is remaining, the reverse frontage road and the utilities mainly and the drainage. So that application actually went to the city council about 2 weeks ago, I guess it was.
March 14th.
And they basically approved the project with the stipulation that we just need the authorization form from the CDD. That'll make the approvals official. That approval is needed so then Ralph can then get his approval for the self-storage facility on the right side, which is a separate application. So that's the second application. That application is just the self-storage.
is this the most recent iteration that you handed out today, or?
Yeah, this is the most recent site plan for the infrastructure project that was turned into the village a couple weeks ago. Okay, there's a whole separate submittal that I didn't realize that was the self-storage. It just shows the 3 buildings for the self-storage on the tract that he's.
Yeah, I think that was in the pack, I'm sorry.
Yes.
And that's a single story? Or do they allow?
Single story in front, multi-story building in the center, and then another single story building in the back.
Okay.
Is that the same set of plans that was before the village on the 14th, or not?
Yes.
Yeah.
You may want to pass these down then. This shows the buildings.
How do you project that reverse frontage road changing? Because obviously now it's going through the lot of track S3.
So this reverse frontage road basically consists of the original zoning, it's not changing as a result of the 7-Eleven.
The only thing that may change, the contention on that left-hand turn off of Stony Brook Golf Drive was the traffic that 7-Eleven would create, because obviously their busiest hours are 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning, and the village was concerned, as well as Stony Brook Golf Community, to back up on the corkscrew that would involve. Now, I will say this, I've spoken in the village, they're going to speak to the school, and Eileen and I have mentioned this, really, that whole road is pretty horrible. Yeah, so to me, it should be the CDD, the school, and the village should be responsible for improving that road. Now, the new buyer said they would pay for this slowdown lane, but that's only a small part of the problem there. So I throw that out. Mary Gibbs was supportive of that. And she said she'd speak to the public school.
Right. So I
They
think
should be supportive of it as well.
I know, speaking of the public school, I think we need to get Johnson Engineering, Chuck, to just tell us what the cost would be to improve that road.
To what standard? Current standard?
The county going to approve it for us anyway? When we give him that piece of land?
They were just going to resurface it. They weren't expanding the road at all.
Would you be responsible for expanding the road?
Well, yeah, and to do it with the village, the new buyer, the school, and us. And so,
Yeah, that left-hand turn was just,
We've discussed this in the past. I mean, I think it's been pretty clear that that road is ultimately our responsibility.
For clarification, the road we're talking about,
The school board had wanted nothing to do with it, the village, nothing to do with it, or, well, even the county. They all said that they would take it over once we basically brought it up to standards, but we're still ultimately responsible to get this thing fixed.
so, but I think what Mary Gibbs is trying to do is trying to get the village, the county, the school, and us to, and the new buyer to participate in doing this. And yes, ultimately, it is our responsibility. But the fact that the school and this new, whatever business comes in will be using it, we need to have them to participate with this because it needs to be done.
yeah, because the only thing the village required was that left-hand slowdown.
Tony, unless you see it differently, it's been pretty clear in the past from all these different quasi-government and government entities that we're responsible for it.
I guess for clarification, because I know we're talking roads and there's a couple roads or streets. Stony Brook Gulf Drive is the district's. Newbridge is private.
Correct.
Now, that's the east-west road that goes through, and the road to the school is on the school's property. It's part of their property, as I understand it. So I think we're just talking about Stony Brook Gulf Drive?
Right.
Okay, I want to make sure.
Yeah, we're just talking
Thank
about we're not talking about the whole road, we're just talking about our part, so.
But my understanding is that the developer was going to, because of putting the turn lanes in,
Well,
widening
just
it,
for that turn lane.
would upgrade it to the entry to
Right.
that property.
And that